Cancer, I never thought I would know your name. That's how I started the piece I submitted 2 years ago to the Listen Dear Cancer Creative Writing Contest, created in 2016 by the Gilda's Club of Twin Cities. Each year, this contest helps elevate the voices of teens ages 13 to 18. It provides a platform to share personal experiences, insights, original thoughts, lessons learned, whether through their own diagnosis or that of a family member or friend. For me, writing my poem allowed me to tell my story in a creative way. I love when we can take things that most people would view as negative or bad and decide to make art out of them and make them a positive experience. Through this contest, I was able to do just that. Now, here are some of the winners reading excerpts from their entries to Dear Cancer.
Dear Cancer, you are nothing but a fool. It all started 2 years ago when my little brother Owen's limbs were severely hurting him. Sometimes we would have to carry him around. He couldn't carry most things, so my mom took him to the doctor. They took blood work and an x-ray on his hand because his hand was swollen and hurting. It was just a couple of days later that the doctor called on a Saturday to tell my dad and my mom that he had abnormal cells in his blood. They highly suspected that it was leukemia cells that were spotted in his blood work. Our hearts were hurting. It was not the first time our family had a child with cancer. My mom and my dad knew this was not an easy journey coming. Owen was given chemotherapy and steroids for the greater part of his treatment. The chemo made him very weak, tired, and nauseous. The steroids were to make him want to eat more so that he could gain enough energy to get through the chemo. They also shrunk the leukemia cells, but a side effect of the steroids was that his emotions changed and he was a lot more sensitive. Whenever I just wanted to play with him, he would get so mad, and he was always so tired. We barely had any fun. When he got so emotional, I thought I did something. I asked myself, what did I do wrong? Eventually, he was cured with 0 cancer cells. On the 28th of November 2020, my great-grandma was told her gallbladder cancer returned. She was 91, and we all knew there was not much hope for her. We were trying to plan to go to Wisconsin, where she lived, with my cousin to see her one last time. Unfortunately, my cousin came down with COVID-19, and with Owen still recovering from his treatment, we couldn't risk it. We did video calls to talk with Grandma while she listened 2 weeks to respond. As I thought about all the things I could have talked to her about, all the things I could have said to her. A week later, we made a call and she was weaker than ever. As we talked, just as before, she was sleeping and then she stopped breathing. As silence echoed and filled the room, as I thought to myself, she's gone. I still remember to this day the cries from the other side of the phone, as I wish no one would have to go through that. Before I was born, my sister, at 11 months of age, had neuroblastoma with paraplegia. I wasn't born yet, so it didn't affect me, but my family really went through a rough patch, so I felt the need to add this to my story. Luckily, my sister is a walking miracle and cancer-free. Now you see, Cancer, you have knocked me down, but I'm still standing. You have tried, but you have lost. I win cancer with my family. You're a enemy, Hamza Al-Khanidi.
Cancer became an unexpected and unwelcome character in my story right as I was starting high school. At the time, I was running personal record cross-country meets and taking AP and honors classes. I was spending hours upon hours at the dance studio and loving it. I felt great and certainly never really thought anything like cancer would happen to me. I was just a typical teenager trying hard to do my best at high school and at life, and not thinking anything could touch me. It was like I was in a bubble that cancer popped, and suddenly, the reality of the world came rushing in. Immediately after I was diagnosed, I endured 6 months of intense chemotherapy at Children's Hospital in Minneapolis. Even though I lost my hair, felt like a truck hit me for a good portion of this time, spent some time in the ICU, and had to give up dance and running, I somehow managed to keep my optimism through most of that time. In fact, I actually have some good memories to look back on. There was the time I woke up to a cupcake on my bedside table on my birthday, and the time I got free Boston Market food on Thanksgiving and my family came to celebrate. Those were the days when I thought cancer was just a blip on the radar, a chapter in my story. Those were the days before cancer consumed my life, altered my mindset forever, and became my whole story. This cancer is relentless and invasive and has changed a great deal of how I live and see the world. You never realize how much people talk about the future until yours is one giant question mark. If I've learned anything from all this worrying, and by extension cancer, it is to live in the today and to stop worrying about the things I can't control. Although cancer was an unwelcome character, it is part of my story whether I like it or not. Would I choose to go back to a time without cancer? A time without worry? Yes, but that's not an option. My only choice is to move forward, to move to the next chapter, whatever that might be.
Hi, I'm John Coet. It was a real honor to judge the teen essay contest, Dear Cancer, and I was really impressed with the quality of the work students did, with their bravery, with their honesty, with their compassion. And one of the ways that this contest can help people is by giving a chance to think about what we want to write and share with others. It helps us clarify how we're thinking and how we're feeling. And then it's huge to share it with other people and see that there are others who are going through this together. So thank you for being part of this, and thank you for asking me to be one of the judges.
Dear Cancer, there's just so much to the story. My big sister has cancer. I was 1 when she was diagnosed. I'm 13 now. When cancer intruded on my sister's brain, it brought an abrupt intensity to our lives. As a young child, I felt like my role was to lighten the mood. It's something I can't really describe. It almost felt like an instinct. I felt compelled to make people laugh and forget about the weight of life. The more they laughed, the better I felt. Most of my childhood photos are of me making faces or wearing weird, absurd costume combinations. I no longer have that same urge to lighten the mood because I realized it's just how it is. I've accepted it. As I matured, my goal became not adding any emotional stress or other problems. It was my way of helping my family until that turned into a problem. I closed myself off emotionally and tried to keep everything to myself. My vault was deeper than you can imagine. Stoic was my name and my game. I ended up turning myself away from my family and the world because I felt pretty frustrated and alone. I now realize I need my family more than I'd like to admit. I've had times where I felt forgotten. It made me sad and sometimes really mad. It seems like the whole world only notices my sister and I was invisible. I learned the term shadow survivor that helped me understand this. It's when one survives in the shadow of their sibling with cancer. Of course, it may seem like you're forgotten and never get attention, but I've come to realize most of the time the cancer survivor doesn't want the attention either. They just want to continue with their everyday life, and they want to be included in as much normalcy as possible. I've been a shadow survivor for 12 years. This is all I know. This is how we do life in my family. Yes, it is complicated, but I can't picture anything different. Others can't imagine a life with a sibling in a constant fight against cancer, yet I can't imagine a life without it. I'm realizing that is it okay to live a life that others don't understand. I roll with it and make the best of it and move on. I know I belong here, I'm needed here, and I don't have to have it all figured out to move forward. I must just continue making the best of what I've got.
Dear Cancer, as a formidable foe, you've tried your best to take away my brother. But luckily, superpowers have always intrigued me. I grew up as a girl with 3 older brothers, and accordingly, my youth was a never-ending series of superhero reenactments. While my brothers often fought over who best portrayed the Hulk's strength, Batman's intellect, or Superman's flight, for me, it was Spider-Man and his commitment to the cause that was the most compelling. Unlike other superheroes, Spider-Man's greatest challenges were often not the villains he confronted, but rather the personal struggle of his daily and ordinary life. Little did I know that life would later present me with my own Spider-Man moment. In December 2014, my oldest brother was diagnosed with a rare form of leukemia. My parents and my brother departed to seek treatment at a hospital far away, and I was quickly confronted with life's unpredictability and the need to adapt to unfamiliar circumstances. Although my brother fought hard through many chemotherapy protocols, his condition worsened, and he was unadmittably deemed unresponsive to treatment. The doctors determined that only a stem cell transplant could save him, and that I had the stem cells that were required. In fact, I was inexplicably a perfect genetic match for my brother, a condition rarely seen in anything other than identical twins. Yet I am 7 years younger than him. Neither my parents nor my older brothers could help my oldest brother. Only I, at 12 years old, had the ability to save my brother's life. When the time was right, I was quickly put on an airplane and rushed to the hospital. Within 2 hours of landing in Houston, I found myself lying on a gurney, being prepared for the procedure. While this environment was scary, the thought of my brother dying was scarier, and he was depending on me and only me to help him. It was at this time that I recognized my opportunity to aspire to the Superman proverb, "With great power comes great responsibility." As a result of my Spider-Man moment, my brother is now cancer-free, a feat many oncologists deemed impossible. I could have neither predicted the disruption this experience would cause my family, nor anticipated the personal growth I would encounter through this event. Personal growth arising is not as a result of some superhero ability, but rather my virtue of an ordinary person taking on an extraordinary challenge in order to benefit another. It was my commitment to the cause that redefined me as a person. As Spider-Man so aptly put it, you can't think about saving the world. You have to think about saving one person. As it turns out, Spider-Man was always the right superhero for me, and I a formidable rival for you, Cancer.